Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to a special interim Let's Play of the 7th Saga. This will basically replace Wild Arms 2 for the duration it takes me to get a new capture device and get it to where I can, get Wild Arms 2 up and running and recorded again. I've got everything set up. The only thing I'm waiting for is a new capture device, which I can't buy until I get paid again and, all this other stuff. And I have bills and things like that. So I might not be able to get it right away, but I'm working on it, and I'm still also kind of doing some research. So wish me luck on finding something new there. But until then, we're going to be playing the 7th Saga. The 7th Saga is a Super Nintendo game released in 1993 for the I already said that, for the Super Nintendo. It's an RPG in the vein of Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest, and other similar games. It was made by Enix. It's not one of their best games, but this game does have a couple of things going for it. First of all, it's got multiple characters you can play through as, and they all play differently. Second, this game is balls to the wall hardcore. You will not in your lifetime ever find a game like an old school RPG harder than this one. When I say old school turn-based JRPG, let me narrow that down a little bit. You will not find one harder. This game, in its American version, blows every Dragon Warrior, every Final Fantasy, and every other thing I have ever played out of the water in terms of sheer difficulty. This game makes Final Fantasy III on the NES look like a freaking cakewalk, and that game is kind of hard. Okay, this game is unfair and imbalanced, but still it has a certain charm, and there is kind of, I guess, a badge of honor for surviving it. You should get a t-shirt at the end of this game. It should just instantly materialize a t-shirt when you beat it. It is that hard. It's like I just sat down and wasted an entire summer playing 7th Saga and beating it, and all I got was this stupid t-shirt. That's enough. Anyway, the original version of this game in Japan was called Elmard. It was released about 4 months before the American version. And for some reason, going against the, I guess, thoughts at the time that Americans were terrible gamers and that we have to have easier games, the American localization team actually made this game harder. What they did was they lowered the stat gains that the apprentice you choose gets. Meaning that as you level up, you end up not as strong as you would be in the Japanese version. They also increased the strength of the monsters and bosses that you come across as you play the game. They also, either whether it was an oversight or intentional, I don't know, they left the other apprentices that you do not choose at their normal stat gains. During the game, which one of the gimmicks of this game is there are 7 playable characters, hence it's called the 7th Saga. Sevens appear a lot in this game. 7 playable characters chasing after 7 ruins. That's the, premise of the game. You interact with the other apprentices at certain points in the game, and as you interact with them, you can choose to battle them. For the most part, you're not forced to fight them. Well, the game keeps track of their level ups. Their level is always equal plus or minus 1 to yours. Which means that as you level up, they get stronger. Well, they get their original stat gains, which means it's pretty much suicide to fight them. There are certain ways you can use this for your own benefit. Because you can actually recruit another apprentice to join your party. However, when that apprentice does join your party, they then are reduced down to the reduced American version level gains. So if you hold off on getting a party member, you can actually, get yourself a superpowered party member. Now, anyway, the real purpose of this video is not only to introduce the fact that I'm going to do the 7th Saga, but to also kind of get your opinion on something. I want to hear what character you want to play the game as. Like I said, there are 7, and I've got these pretty much organized in a certain way. We're going to go from most physically capable to most magically capable. And then we will leave it up to a vote. You guys just basically leave a comment saying which one you want to do. And I'll leave this up for a little bit before I start playing the game. I still have to go and finish my test run as Camille. I pretty much picked Camille for my test run because he's literally the most average character in the roster. He can do a little bit of everything. Anyway, let's get on talking about the characters. Alright, first off the bat is Wilma. Wilma is a tougher character to use during some portions of the game, but by the end he really balances out. He has excellent stat growth. His defense is very high, and even more than that, his HP is through the freaking roof. In fact, his HP is the highest of all the characters in the game. He also has superb power and speed, making him hit accurately and hard. Despite this, he does have 2 major weaknesses. First weakness, a lack of equipment, which kind of hinders him mostly around the mid-game, at least until his innate stats start to catch up and compensate, and eventually will surpass any other character who does get to wear equipment. He can't equip any armor other than his initial stuff, and he only gets 1 easily missed weapon that is dropped by an enemy. Second weakness, he has a lack of magic. The only abilities he can cast are fire spells and a few miscellaneous spells of pretty dubious usefulness. He's really hurt by the lack of healing magic. Despite this, he is probably the easiest character to complete the game solo with, as physical hits really dominate magic in this game, especially late in the game. When searching for him a partner, you probably want to get one of the magical-oriented apprentices with healing magic, such as Asuna or Valse. Next character is Lux. Lux is not all that different from Wilma. Basically, Lux has a bit more magic potency while losing a bit of speed. He has a smaller array of spells, but he is the only one who can cast those spells, and they are actually kind of powerful. Like Wilma, Lux is severely limited with his equipment choices, only having some easily missed armor to equip during the game. Overall, I typically prefer Lux over Wilma, just because Lux is a freaking awesome robot. There isn't a whole lot of difference between the two, though. Basically, you trade a bit of speed for a bit of magic power. One thing to consider with Lux, though, if you're going to pick him, with every step he takes, he makes a clanking noise. It doesn't really bother me, but I do know people it does bother, and yeah. So, anyway, like with Wilma, when you search for a partner, you probably want to get one of the magical-oriented apprentices with healing magic. Alright, there isn't much I'm going to say about Alvin that I won't say about Camille, but Alvin is basically average with a slight skew towards the physical. By the end of the game, Alvin will hit for quite a bit of damage, and he will also be able to take quite a bit of punishment. He also gets to wear the best armors and weapons in the game. His spell list is very similar to Camille's, although Camille will have more MP to cast his spells and will learn his spells earlier. He's probably actually a little better than Camille because of his increased physical prowess and the game's skewed physical bias. When searching for a partner for him, you have more options due to Alvin's ability to heal himself and others, but I would still probably put him with one of the attack magic oriented apprentices to cover his weakness of a crappy attack spell list. Asuna is probably the best choice, but Legis is totally viable as well. One thing I do want to point out is that he learns the Defense 1 spell, which is very good. It will save you some money. Camille is the most average, well-rounded character in the game. He doesn't excel in any particular area, although he can pretty much do it all. A jack of all trades, as it were. He can give and take damage, he can heal, he can use some fairly potent attack magic. He does have a slightly lower HP than the previous characters discussed, but he does have a better magic growth. He has a good range of spells from the start, including healing spells and good fire spells, including the Hit All Firebird, which he learns very early. So he's going to take some damage, but not enough to finish him off before he manages to heal. And it may take an additional turn or two for Camille to finish off a particularly strong enemy, but he is more than capable of doing so. When searching for a partner for Camille, you can actually probably use anyone successfully, but I would still say stick with a caster. Legis is the inverse of Alvin, average, skewed towards magic. I'll be honest, Legis is probably the hardest character to beat the game with. He's basically a red mage with no healing magic. Although he does get a good selection of attack spells and can actually use the heaviest equipment out of all of the casters, making his physical attacks almost impressive. His lack of healing magic hurts him probably more than it does Wilma, and he doesn't do as much damage as Asuna when it comes to magic. So when pairing Legis off, I find that Camille or Alvin probably the best to choose as a backup due to the physical power they bring to the table coupled with their healing spells. Valse is a standard RPG healer. You've seen him a million times. Through and through. He's got a huge amount of healing and support spells at his disposal, making him quite a useful character to have in your party. He also has one attack ability, Ice 1, which is nice since he kind of sucks as a physical attacker, and it gives him something to basically throw around. His trump, without a doubt, is his unique spell, Elixir. This spell fully heals all of the target's HP and MP, including the casting cost. That's right, you heard that. Unless he is killed in one hit, Valse cannot die once he gets to level 42. He cannot die, unless you're, negligent. While not very efficient as a solo character, he has excellent support for pretty much everyone in the game, especially Wilma and Lux, who can take over the heavy lifting while Valse throws Ice 1s at his foes and keeps them healthy. Despite being a little elf, Asuna is nothing to be scoffed at. Even though she is technically classified as a mage chick of the game, she is very powerful. She pairs well with pretty much everybody in the game. She gets lots of great magic, and she's capable of decimating the random encounters over and over and over again with her high MP. She also gets a surprisingly good amount of defense and attack power from her equipment, and has, she doesn't have bad HP growth either, meaning she isn't made of paper and can actually throw the odd hit around to spare some MP. She isn't all sunshine and lollipops, though. She never learns Heal 2. This means that in the areas of the game where your HP is too high for Heal 1 to max out after a nasty hit, you have to rely on items, which can be bothersome. She pairs well with anyone, although I would be careful of taking people who don't learn healed spells during the portions of the game where Heal 2 would be your bread and butter. Well, that's the 7 characters of the game and a basic description of each one. So, think about it a little bit, and then leave a comment at the bottom about which one you'd like to see me go through the game as. I am not above doing any of them. I will say that I don't really like going through the game as Valse, and Legis is, like I said, probably the hardest one to go through the game as. But I'm not against doing any of them. So, just, put your preferences down there about the main party member. And once adequate time has passed to give everybody a chance to vote, I will start the recording part of the process. So I'll see you then.